The AFC West is home to two new coaches, and so far, the results have not been good. The Broncos are 1-1. The Raiders are 0-2 and staring at a must-win game week 3 in Tennessee against a Titans team that also stands to be a little bit desperate. But let's start out with Denver. Let's start out with Nathaniel Hackett, who so far had the good fortune of playing against the Seattle Seahawks and the Houston Texans. Now, one would figure with Russell Wilson at the helm, that ought to be 2-0. Not the case. Denver is 1-1. They found a way to beat Houston at home, scoring 16 points for the second week in a row. This time it was enough. Houston could only manage 9. However, there are major problems, and they're not bubbling beneath the surface. They're at the surface. In fact, they're almost coming in like a tsunami of a wave over the surface because Denver in 2 games has taken a combined 25 penalties. On Sunday at home against the Texans, they took 13 for a clean and even 100 yards. It was so bad at one point with all the pre-snap penalties that the crowd actually started audibly counting down the play clock for the offense. That's how bad it got. If you've ever seen that, please let me know when in the comments, because I never have. The Broncos fans actually had to help the Broncos snap the ball in their own building. There was another instance on 4th and 14 when Houston was getting ready to punt that the Broncos had to burn an important second half timeout. Why? Because the Broncos forgot to have a punt returner on the field. That actually happened. That's a thing. And so this is where we are with Denver. Russell Wilson, by the way, although he was victimized by some drops on Sunday, was largely terrible. 14 of 31 with a pick. That's not going to beat too many teams. Luckily for Denver, it did beat the Texans. The Texans are awful, probably a 4 or 5 win team at best. But it's not going to beat most teams. It certainly won't beat the San Francisco 49ers next weekend, who will come into Denver on Sunday Night Football with Jimmy Garoppolo at the helm. Hackett has looked unprepared. His team has looked overwhelmed and overmatched at times, playing 2 of the worst teams in the league. And yes, that 64-yard field goal, one of the most ridiculous decisions you've seen in many moons, but it doesn't feel like it's going to stop there anytime soon. Another call yesterday that went wild was Denver getting ready to kick a field goal, a long field goal, before it took a delay of game. Then they had to punt. This is where the Broncos are at right now. A team with some talent, not an overwhelming amount, coached by a man who's seemingly in over his head. Hackett has never been a head coach at any level, and it is showing. Now, with the Raiders, Josh McDaniels has been a head coach before. He had time in Denver. It did not last very long. It did not go very well. He lasted less than 2 seasons in his first go-round. But he went back to New England. He rehabbed his image, and he got another chance in the AFC West. And he's 0-2. A close loss to the Chargers, a decent result to be sure, not an easy game. The Chargers are one of the best teams in the league. Then they played the Cardinals, and they got up 20-0. And for all the world, it looked like the Raiders were about to be 1-1 and well on their way. And then the second half happened. And the Raiders still were up 23-7 halfway through the fourth quarter against a Cardinals team that for the first 6 quarters of the season looked like maybe the worst team in football after what was a very dysfunctional offseason. And then all of a sudden, Kyler Murray started running around, making a couple of throws. Derek Carr did nothing. The offense accounted for 3 points in the second half. And on the final play of regulation, the Cardinals tied the game, got the 2-point conversion, sent it to overtime. But then the Raiders got to stop. And they moved into what would have been a long field goal, but into field goal range nonetheless. And then they decided to throw the ball instead of just running it on first down. And Derek Carr almost threw an interception, but he didn't. Crisis averted. Second down, a throw to Hunter Renfrow, who 2 plays earlier had fumbled. He fumbled again. And Byron Murphy picked up the gift and ran 59 yards for a touchdown, 29-23 Arizona. And the Raiders are left at 0-2 and wondering what happened. They are already 2 games back at the Kansas City Chiefs. They are a game back at the Chargers and Broncos. And now they go and they play the Titans before they play the Broncos and then the Chiefs on Monday Night Football in Week 5. They could be buried if things don't turn around really quickly. And why should they? You look at the roster, they have 6 really good players. Derek Carr, Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Adams, who, by the way, did nothing against Arizona, Darren Waller, and then the pass rushers of Max Crosby and Chandler Jones. And that's it. There's nobody else we're talking about on that roster, save for maybe Colton Miller and Denzel Perriman. That's as far as it goes. There's no depth, and there is no hope in Vegas if they can't figure out how to close out a team like Arizona when they're up 20 at home. And that, make no mistake, is on the players. You've got to execute. That's also on the coaching staff. There is no way that game should get away from you, not once, not ever. And now the Raiders find themselves 0-2 in a division where 0-2 will leave you behind in a hurry. This is not the AFC South where you might win it with 8 games. This is the AFC West where it might take 13 wins to win the division. And if it's going to take that, well, then the Raiders, you can cross them off right now. If it's going to take 12, you can probably cross them off right now. I would surmise the Raiders are probably already fighting for a wild card berth. Good luck to them, because so far their coach seems a little bit in over his head. And at this point, the Raiders are already at a must win, and we're not even into October yet. Not a great sign in Vegas, and in Denver, yikes.